I'm Andrea Johnson. I'm the Grant and Financial Education Coordinator for the Office of Consumer Credit Commissioner. This webinar is for informational purposes only, does not constitute legal advice. First, a little bit about the Texas Office of Consumer Credit Commissioner. We license and regulate certain non-depository institutions such as payday loan lenders, pawn shops, and registered creditors. So we are all across the great state of Texas. I always think of pawn shops the most because you see those sprinkled everywhere. You always see a pawn shop somewhere. We protect and safeguard consumers against abusive and deceptive lending practices. We educate you and creditors about your rights and responsibilities, and we have a consumer assistance helpline. Someone is actually physically going to answer your call Monday through Friday during normal business hours if you have any complaints or concerns about any of the industries we license and regulate. We provide financial education through me, the Financial Education Coordinator, informational seminars and webinars. So if you want to see me in person, just let me know. I will come to your business or organization. You know, Texas is open right now. We provide financial education materials like the handouts I have today. Those can also be found on occc.texas.gov. And we have public service announcements and press releases. And we partner with other education-oriented organizations for things like the Texas Financial Education Endowment Grant, which is open. So if you or your child or your spouse or someone you know owns or is a member of a nonprofit that is providing financial education for K through 12 adults or financial coaching, please send them my way and I will hopefully get them an application to fill out. So what does this mean? What are we talking about today? And like I said, we've got some polling questions. So when it comes to values in your money, does it matter when it comes to making financial decisions, or does it always come down to math? True or false? How do you think about this yourself? Do you just, sporadically make decisions? Do you really weigh in your husband, your partner, your spouse, your children? What is it that really makes a difference in your values when it comes to spending money? And let's see how it looks like we've got people voting. And it looks like some people are leaning, looks like most of us are leaning towards true. So let's see how that all stacks up. 60% of you say true, the values do affect your spending, and 40% say false. So usually it's going to lean towards the true category if you really think about it. And maybe you did. So what are values? Values are a whole bunch of things. They are the people, the things, and places that are important to you, and they guide how you make financial decisions. They guide how you make a lot of decisions. If you think about it, let's say you attend church regularly, and one of the things that you do is, hold on, is that you check you do a tithing, you do an offering, and some people do this on a percentage basis, and that affects your values, that influences your money, right? Because you are spending that money every month or however often you are towards your church. So you're tithing. That's a place, that's a belief, that is people, that is a whole bunch of things. Values shape how you prioritize your time, energy, and money. And hopefully a lot of you are prioritizing your savings and retirement. What are your goals? When it comes to your money values and influences, it's good to have goals. What kind of future do you want? Your hopes, your dreams, your retirement, your vacation house. Goals are going to get you your desired results, correct? So you set goals to prioritize your money and to measure and track your progress. Because if you don't have a goal, how are you going to reach that goal? Setting SMART goals. Today's webinar is Money Smart. It's part of the FDIC's Money Smart program. Your goals should be specific. They should be measurable. They should be action-oriented, reachable, and they should have a timeline of when they should be accomplished. And that's true for any goals that you might have in life. But when it comes to your finances, it's important to set these goals and to strive to reach these goals, but not to beat yourself up if you have a setback, for instance. SMART goals. Specific. What specifically does that mean? Well, what do you want to accomplish with your goal? Why is it important to you? Is this something you really want or need? I say savings, I throw need in there. Measurable. How much? How many? How will you know if you've met your goal? I know someone who told me recently that she had taken a second job to specifically pay off her student loans. She built a chart, and as she ticked away at paying off her student loans, she filled up the chart. She made a little diagram and filled it up until that chart was full so she could physically see that she is measuring her goal and achieving her goal and getting closer to her goal. Action oriented. What specific actions do you need to do in order to meet your goal? Is that saving $50 a month? Is it saving $20 a month? What is the goal and what do you need to do to make it happen? Is it reachable? Are you going to be a millionaire in a year? Probably not. So it's probably not a reachable, tangible goal to become a millionaire in 12 months. But is it a reachable goal to save $1,000 for an emergency savings account? Yes. When do you plan to reach this goal? Set a date on the calendar, and that is when you're going to, that's the timeline that you have for getting this goal. Maybe you want to buy a new car, so you need a down payment. Maybe you want to pay off bills. So you make a spreadsheet of what credit cards or loans you have, when they're due, how much it's due, talk about interest rates, talk about your finance charges, put all of those things into this chart, and then put a timeline if those things don't already have timelines, correct? Maybe you want to pay off your car earlier. You have a long loan for a car. Nowadays, I think I've seen them even as long as 6 years, paying a car loan for 6 years. Maybe you want to pay it in 3 years. So you put that on your chart, you put a new timeline for when you want to get paid off, and that is your goal, and you work towards it. Influences on choices you make about money. So advertisements are big, media, celebrities, your friends. I know that we had to make cutbacks when we had our children. We moved into a bigger house to have children, and we moved into a bigger mortgage payment. Well, that also meant that we didn't have all this free extra money, not free money, but extra money laying around to spend $60 at brunch or $70 at dinner. Those things changed. And so we had to cut back on what we could do with our friends. Advertisements. I personally am probably, for some reason, after having children, I'm easily influenced by the power of suggestion. Don't know why, just happens. I used to be able to say no, you know, and so things just kind of happen now, and I'm like, oh. And then it's in my mind. It's one of those things that once you decide you want Chinese food, you have to have the Chinese food, or you keep wanting it until you have it. That's one of my problems. Influences can be productive, okay? They don't, outside influences, external, internal, whatever it is, they don't necessarily have to hurt you or influence you in a negative way. They can help you in a good way. So let's say you're influenced because you have money goals and you have someone in your life to help you keep on track, to help you steer away from the things that you fall victim to when it comes to making purchases. That's a good influence. That could be a physical person. Um, Maybe you keep notes around the house that remind you of the things that you want to accomplish. That's positive. That helps you achieve your goals. These things help you move towards your goal. Unproductive goals just get in your way. This is the person who, despite you saying, oh, I'm really broke, I'm between paychecks, I really shouldn't go out to lunch today, I brought my lunch, and you've already told them this, and then they come in your office and go, hey, you want to go grab lunch with me? That person's not helping you financially. Also, they weren't listening to you because you said you didn't have the money for lunch and you brought your lunch today. Or maybe you didn't even say, I don't have the money. You just said, I brought my lunch today. I'm going to eat here in the office. But then that outside influence, that unproductive influence, walked into your space, whether it's your office, maybe you're working from home, maybe you're sitting out somewhere and you run into a friend, whatever it may be, that person has come to you and they've put that little nugget in there and influenced you to spend money, because it is a lot of times more fun to eat with a friend than alone at your desk. External influences and small groups. So small groups, and again, advertisements, media, celebrities, peers, friends, social pressure, and advertising. It is human nature to want what others have. They don't call it keeping up with the Joneses for nothing. And that's because a lot of the times you don't necessarily want to be that person. You don't necessarily want to emulate that person, but you look and you go, huh, well, I really like that car. I really like those shoes. I really like that purse. I really like their house. I really like how they just pick up and go on vacation, how they can do all these things. Well, think about it when you go shopping, when you're out and about. Those advertisements are there for a reason. This picture, it shows someone window shopping and she has bags in her hands. There's a reason why they do that, because they want to influence you. They're showing you, hey, this looks good and it could look like this on you. And that's where your mind does that. And that's where you have that little switch that flips. And advertisers spend buku bucks on trying to get you to buy their products. Think about it. A Super Bowl ad, I think 30 seconds for the Super Bowl. Oh gosh, I think it was like the lowest amount was $10 million just for you to watch that ad. And they're hoping that they've spent enough money, they've done a good enough job that you're going to go to the store and buy exactly what they're selling. And when it comes to this, when it comes to those influences, impulse purchasing makes it harder to achieve your goals, because you are looking at something and then going, okay, I need that in my life, whether you needed it or not. But there are strategies for staying focused. Recognize the tactics that are used by the advertisers. Oh, there's a picture of food here. If you were not aware, when it comes to advertising and food pictures, first of all, they're going to use the nicest of everything. They physically spray it sometimes to make it look shiny for the picture. There's lighting, there is the correct position, there is, all kinds of different things that go into something. When you see that fast food restaurant hamburger commercial and the hamburger looks juicy and delicious, and you go and the bun is all fluffy in the picture on the commercial, and then you get yours all wrapped up in the paper and it's flat and smushy, you're getting the flat and smushy sometimes. Notice when and where you are tempted. For me, it used to be shoe stores. I couldn't go shopping without wanting to go into a shoe store. People around me knew this. They would steer me away from shoe stores. I avoided shoe stores for this exact reason. Control your environment. I have a tendency that if I'm not happy someplace, I leave. I control my environment. If I've had enough and I'm done, I walk away. There's also, I thought about it recently. I went to a party and I used to take me like 3 hours to leave because I would say goodbye to everyone. Well, now I don't do that. I just leave. I ghost out. And you know what? Because I'm controlling the environment that I'm in. I don't need more food. I don't need a drink. I don't need hours of chit chat. I need to get up in the morning and take care of my kids. Build in a pause. What does this mean? It means that you just kind of take a step back. Look at what's going on around you and take a step back and say no. This also goes into controlling your environment. Staying focused on your goals. Talk yourself out of it. One of the things I do the most, probably, and it might sound crazy to other people, is I talk to myself. I talk out loud. I carry on full conversations because I analyze every little thing that I think is important, and I talk to other people. So if there's something that I know I want to do later, just say no. You know, it's an old saying, just tell yourself to just say no. Calculate the hours it's going to take to actually get what you're trying to buy. What are you spending your money on? And what is it doing mentally, emotionally, and physically? Not just the money in your pocket, not just what you're making, but what are you putting in for that? So think about your hourly wage, divide the cost of the item by your hourly wage, and then quantify the item in those terms. So if the cost of the item divided by your hourly wage equals 2 weeks of working or maybe more, is it really worth it? May not be for some. But there are building blocks of a spending and savings plan. So what you want to do when it comes to this is you want to compare your income and your expenses and see if they balance. Understand where your money is going and make adjustments. I will tell you, recently I talked to someone and she is up on the apps, and I downloaded a budgeting app. Finally, I went from the DIY Excel spreadsheet to an actual app where I could import my bank information and make adjustments to different categories, because one of the things it didn't understand was childcare. And what I like is it's helping me to see where the money is going and where things are shifting throughout the month. Because making a budget and then not having something, you need that second spreadsheet that you are showing, here's your budget, this is what you have planned, where are you, not hitting the mark, right? So income is the money you receive, of course, and expenses is how you use it. So if you have any apps, I actually downloaded Mint. Someone asked in the question box, which app are you using? I downloaded Mint because it was free. This person listed a few. There's one by Dave Ramsey, and I forget the other one that she said that was free, but it didn't import your bank information for you. So I downloaded Mint because I like the idea of it being free. I like the idea of it downloading my information and tracking these things for me. So far, so good. But if you have a different app that you use and you really like it, you can go ahead and share that with everyone, and I will let everyone know as we're going along. So also when it comes to a spending and savings plan, what is this? This is checking your credit. Right now through April 2022, you can get a free credit report every week from Experian, TransUnion, and Equifax. We were pleasantly surprised this week. My husband was applying for a loan, and he found out from the creditor, because I don't religiously check his credit score, I check mine. His credit score is almost perfect. And the loan person was just impressed, because they said, "What's your credit score like?" And we said, "Oh, it's excellent." And I think a lot of times people say that and they're just saying that and they don't really know. So make sure you know. Keep in mind that checking your credit does not affect your credit score. It does not affect your credit report. It doesn't, it's not going to impact you in any way. So make sure that you are doing that. Make sure that you are checking your credit report, checking your credit score, and seeing what's out there to know where you stand. This will also give you consumer confidence. This will also let you know maybe you've had some negative remarks that you weren't aware of. Maybe, like for instance, my last name is Johnson. Maybe there's a report of a Johnston on my credit report. That's something to look at. Typos, errors, mistakes, things of that nature. So this is in your participant guide, and this is just kind of help you, a spending plan in the guide, kind of give you a starting point if you don't know where to start or how to make your own spending and savings plan. You're going to see that it has your net income and your expenses. And so you're going to fill this out and you're going to kind of work through it to see if there's any adjustments you need to make. And that is in the guide that I sent you earlier today. So when it comes to filling it out, there's 3 sections: your net income, your expenses, and the comparison. So you're going to do your past monthly amount, your planned monthly amount. I'd like to plan for more, and compare total net income and total expenses. And if needed, make changes. And you might think, well, I don't have any, I was thinking of net worth. Sorry about that. But you might not, you might think like, oh, these two aren't going to balance out, but you never know unless you see, right? It helps to put things physically down where you can see them. When you compare your total income minus your total expenses, if the difference is 0, you're okay. I mean, you could be better. If it's positive, then you have more income than expenses. And if it's negative, well, then you might need to work on that because you're either overspending in certain categories or you actually do not have enough money coming in to make ends meet. There are daily and weekly ideas. So daily is you're going to record your savings, sharing, and spending and collect your change, right? So that you're doing this on a daily basis. Weekly, it's the same way. You are just, kind of checking on it weekly, see how things are going. Maybe, this might be good for someone who's just starting out with budgeting. Maybe you don't like to be bogged down with, just feeling like this is, a ball, like you're just having to do this all the time. I know I check my bank account several times a day. I check my credit. I check my credit score. I am vigilant. If I see something that I don't know about, I ask my husband because we share accounts. And what about a monthly ideas when it comes to your spending and saving? So conduct a monthly review. Have monthly goal setting session. So you set your goals, you're tracking your goals, and just kind of touch base every month to see where you stand. So you could do this daily. You can do this weekly. Some people get paid once a week. Let's say you picked up a second job and you get paid every week and you're funneling that money into your student loans, for instance, like the example I used earlier. And you do that weekly. You're just looking at it. But as you're taking it into the box, how often are you getting those statements from your student loan provider? Celebrate your successes, right? As you tick off your financial goals, celebrate them. And no, you don't have to go out and spend a fortune, but celebrate those successes. Make sure that you are preparing for any taxes that need to be taken out. So think about any ideas you might have when it comes to a spending and savings plan. What about increasing your income? I talk about increasing income on a few different webinars. So what can you do? You can sell something. I know working from home during 2020, I saw a whole bunch of things I wanted to get rid of, and I would just sell them as I went along. What about a garage sale? Maybe your community does a garage sale where you don't even have to advertise, you just have to put stuff outside. What about a part-time job to pay off a specific goal? Now, what I suggest is that if you do take up a part-time job, figure out what financial goal you have for getting that part-time job, not just making ends meet, not just because you need extra income to pay the electric bill. Let your first income handle those necessities. Your second income, try to funnel that directly into debt repayment and getting out of debt. And so that's something you can do. Other ways to increase your income would be, for one, and to decrease your expenses is like shopping by yourself or making online grocery orders, doing delivery or pickup. This is going to save you time and money because you're not walking all over the store looking for different things. So decreasing expenses. Think about your needs, wants, and obligations. Your needs and your obligations should outweigh your wants. So if you can conserve, so what can you get for less? Do you need name brand shampoo? Do you need name brand soap? Do you need name brand toilet paper? There are products that you use consistently on you know, on an everyday basis that you may not need to spend the kind of money you're spending on them. So adjust where you can and renegotiate in certain things. So what does this mean? Adjust where you can. So adjust your categories, adjust your budgeting categories. That's one thing you do. Renegotiate your terms, such as your loan terms. Mortgage rates are really great right now still. They are holding tight. Who knows how long it's going to last. If you can decrease your mortgage percentage by that rate by 1% or more, you should look into refinancing. What can you do without? Can you eliminate anything? Can you eliminate the cable bill? There are other things and other products out there that might get you exactly what you want, and they don't cost as much every month. Can you eliminate eating out once a week? Can you eliminate your coffee run once a week? Can you go from, if you have a 1 cup system like a Keurig, can you go from that, like using the little coffee pods, to maybe a reusable coffee pod and you buy the grounds? That's cheaper. You're eliminating the pods, but you still get your coffee, right? So that's one thing to do. And that also goes into negotiating with yourself, making compromises. When money is short, prioritize, because even if you are careful about your planning when it comes to money and your financial wellness and things of that nature, you can always run short. For instance, unexpected pet emergencies will cut into a budget. Children emergencies, car emergencies. I had to replace a tire recently. That dug into our money, right? So in short, what can you do? You can increase your income, you can decrease your expenses, contact your creditors. I know someone who did this. She actually lowered and changed her rates. I think it was on 6 different things. I can't remember what they were exactly. I know a couple were credit cards. One, I think, was her phone. She just called them and asked. Reach out for help. There are different places that will help you. And I'm not talking about, necessarily getting a personal loan or something like that, but reach out for help. Talk to your group, talk to your circle. If you have a confidant that you would like to reach out to them and tell them, hey, I'm struggling. Do you have any ideas on how I could budget better? I can prioritize. Maybe can you help me make some phone calls? Like, help me make a list. Maybe you're not the best at organizing. That's okay. Ask for help. I always say the worst things someone can say is no. They can say yes or they can say no. Prioritize what to pay first. One of the first things you need to pay is yourself. You need to put money in your savings account. Look at your income, your expenses, and figure out how much you need to put into an account to set aside to pay yourself first. Prioritize based on what might happen. Coulda, shoulda, woulda, right? So make choices about which bills to pay in full, pay partially, or pay late. Hopefully you're not paying things partially, but if you're in that tight of a money crunch, you might have to pay things partially. You might have to pay things late. Think about, if you have to make this choice, look at what providers, what lenders, what creditors you have, and what their fees are. Someone told me recently that their overdraft fee for their bank account was $32. I will tell you right now, if I had a $32 overdraft fee, that is the last thing I would want to happen. I would probably attach an emergency credit card. I would attach an emergency savings account. Something would be there to back up my regular banking account because $32 to me is a lot when it comes to just money that you're throwing away. I'm not saying $32 because we go and buy lunch. $32 because it's a fee, you are literally paying them to take your money. So pay attention to any consequences when it comes to spending that prevent you from earning income that could jeopardize where you live. For instance, I always tell my husband, I go, well, if we don't have electricity, at least we got a roof over our head, because the mortgage is one of the first things I prioritize. We pay it in full, we pay it on time, it is never late, because you know what? I've got 2 kids and a dog and a fish and a spouse, but he's a grown up, and they need a place to live. So that's why it's so important to me. These things can impact your health or your ability to live independently, and you could result in a loss of your assets. If you don't pay your mortgage, they can take away your house. If you don't pay for your car, they can take away your car. These things happen. So what I want you to think about today, I want you to understand your values can help you achieve your financial goals. So your spending values, your savings, your influences, all the different things that play a part in your life, people, pets, your work, your extracurricular activities, any things of that nature, they influence your financial goals, right? Set SMART goals. So think about that. Make them specific, make them measurable, make them action oriented. Set that timeline for them and see how you achieve those goals and move forward. Think about the external influences that impact the choices you make. Use strategies to stay focused on your goals. I avoid shoe stores. I don't really go clothing shopping unless I definitely need it. Sometimes I have to avoid the children's section in the store because I know I will buy something for my children. Use a monthly spending and savings plan to guide how you use your money. So think about, you have your budget, but then have a spending and savings plan like the one in your guide today. And when money is short, prioritize what to pay first. That's important because you don't want to hit a wall. You want to make sure your mortgage is paid. You want to make sure that your car payment is paid if that's the only way for you to get to point A to point B when it comes to earning that income. Some people are able to use public transportation. I, for one, it would be an Uber for the location that I live in, and that would be not cost effective for me in the long run. So think about that and prioritize.
I'm Andrea Johnson. I'm the Grant Financial Education Coordinator for the Office of Consumer Credit Commissioner. You can email me at financial-education@occc.texas.gov. You can find us on Facebook at Texas Financial Education Endowment and on Twitter at Financial Ed Texas. Thanks everyone for joining me today.